Damn Good Day Show. Dr. Jason's in the building. What's up, my brother? How are you?
I'm well, man. How we doing?
Thanks for making it over.
I appreciate you, brother. This is a dope studio.
It's fun, right? It's
Yeah.
fun because we were just talking about how you're going to be starting your own podcast soon.
Yep.
And the biggest thing with podcasting that sucks is the setup.
Yeah.
Especially when you have to set up randomly for just one episode. You have to bring 2 cameras, you have to bring the microphones, you have to bring all the cords, and then next thing you know, if you don't have a crew doing it, you're subconsciously thinking about it, and now you're not even locked into the podcast. So having a place where people can just come, sit down, butts in seats, click go is the play. You know what I mean?
Love it, man. Set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it. That's the narrative. And man, I'm so glad you're here. You know, I'm grateful that Anton originally connected us.
Yeah, Anton's the homie.
And you know, I've had a chance to check out your long history, and I mean, you've made it to the pinnacle of what every chiro wishes they could become.
I'm blessed, man. I'm definitely blessed. Put a lot of work in behind it.
You did, and you grew it from every different angle. You
Yeah.
grew it from your massive YouTube following. Congratulations on
Thank
all
you,
of
man.
that. That's a grind. Consistently uploading.
YouTube's a different animal. Yeah, long form content is a whole different animal from popping on a Instagram video, you know?
Totally. And for you to continuously do it like time over time, I mean, it just takes discipline.
Yes, discipline, my guy, is a disciple to a higher purpose.
I see your videos when you just get down and just start busting out push-ups and you get on that motivational grind. Have you always been like that?
I have, man. It's evolved through different forms.
Yeah.
I've had different times where I've been more focused on running or, weights or calisthenics, different things. But it's really not about the exercise. It's about the discipline, and it's about the frequency. And most people just don't get it. You know, you have to vibrate higher.
When you say vibrate higher, how would you explain that to someone that's never heard that before?
Sure. Everything in the universe has a vibration, and you go around somebody that you just feel good around. You want to talk to them. You want to touch them. You know, your shoulder rubs theirs, and you just feel comfortable. You know, and that's somebody with typically a high vibration. Another way to look at a high vibration state would be you're in a high vibration state. Something goes against the way you would want it to go. You could label it as a bad event or a tragic event or what have you, and you understand it. You understand that it's not the way you wanted it to go, but it's going.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect you as much. That's when you're in a high vibratory state. And low vibration is when you're negative. You maybe don't want to be around someone else, or people don't want to be around you. You reach for things that bring your vibration down, whether it be, food, drugs, alcohol, etc. And again, nothing wrong with those things. We all love to eat and drink and be merry, etc. to an extent.
Yeah.
But the truth about vibration is there's, the difference between a high and a low is the state you're in, how you relate to other people, and most importantly, how you relate to yourself.
It's interesting because the vibration, some people, they might either have it or they don't, right? Some people just look at life positively, and some people feel like they have that victim mentality and it just weighs them down, and constantly telling the universe, why me? It's always me. Everything happens to me, versus some people that can just shake it off and move forward. It's interesting how food and what we do to our bodies impacts that dramatically.
Yeah.
I have a long health journey with SIBO and IBS, and I've been to all the doctors and love talking about health and wellness, not because I'm fascinated by it, because I was forced to, because health eventually catches up with you. But it's interesting that when your body is flowing, your gut feels good, you're eating the right foods, you're working out, you have a good schedule, you feel good about yourself, that you do get, it's like easier to be more vibrant. It's easier to be and have a better frequency.
Yeah. Most people don't realize that it's the things that we do to ourselves that lower our frequency, lower our vibratory state. And when we're out of alignment, whether it's physically, chiropractically with the spine, or energetically, spiritually, when you fracture your spirit and you do things that don't serve you and your greater purpose, you fracture yourself. And if I take a $100 bill and I rip it in half, it loses value. And if you take a person and you fraction their spirit by consistently making decisions that don't coincide with your higher self, you put yourself in the same position and you're out of alignment. And then energetically that affects, of course, the physical. You cannot separate the energy from the body.
I like looking at it that way. So looking at your body as a spirit.
Yeah.
And every time you make a certain decision, you're essentially asking yourself, are you enabling your spirit, or are you disabling your spirit? Are
Absolutely.
you hurting it, or are you cutting it?
Yeah. It's like, it's so funny. You know, I'm very happily married, newer to Miami, you know, been here a couple years now. And, you know, just opened up an office in Brickell, right?
Congratulations.
Thanks,
awesome.
man. Yeah, Rejuve in Brickell. You know, if you're watching this, you're ever in Miami, come look us up. We'll, you know,
Rejuve, baby. Shout
yeah,
out.
man,
Let's
come
go.
on, man. We gotta
J.
get you dialed, right? But we'll be there. You know, we'll help you get aligned. But you know, people here always talk about how difficult it is to date in Miami, how difficult it is to meet a man or a woman that's good. And I just tell people, you know, that's crazy, you know, because I'm happily married. And at the same token, I know that if I wasn't and I was in the market, then, you know, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? It's like you have to, at some extent, take responsibility for who you are and what you attract, both good and bad. And the moment you can do that, you start energetically aligning yourself.
That makes a lot of sense, because people like to play the card, you know, dating's impossible.
Yeah.
I can't find the one.
Excuse for fucking everything, man.
You know, you're on all the apps.
Yeah.
All these girls are fake. But deep down, it's, are you in the right place?
And also, like, are you fake? Like, why are you on the app in the first place? I mean, I never experienced the apps because they came out after I was married.
Oh, well, that's a game.
So I didn't even know, you know, I heard about these and it was like, what is that? You know, this and that. And I'm not, you know, hating on somebody using an app. It's all good, right? But, you know, you get what you are. And that's not an easy pill for most people to swallow. So you have a great day, you get a raise, something good happens, and you go, the energy, man, and I attracted that. And then somebody rear-ends you, and you're like, motherfucker, how could they do that? And wait a minute. Like, you just took credit for that raise. And so with my patients, I've always said, I take no credit, I take no blame. And what I mean by that is that most of the problems that people have, they cause to them. I mean, almost all of them, they cause to themselves. And so I can't, if somebody comes to me, if you're my patient and you come in and you go, Dr. J, you're amazing. I don't have headaches anymore. I turn it back around. I go, no, you're amazing. I just work here, man. The body can heal, because that's the truth. And that now I'm in alignment with universal principles. The body can heal. You're the best doctor. I just work here, man. Right? I'm the technician. But it's the same thing, that we have to take responsibility for our lives. Otherwise, you're just never going to reach your potential, and you're really never going to have a true level of happiness. But you'll think you have a level, and then you'll look for vices and escapes and things to make you feel better, but you're not truly content.
Yeah, and it's hard for people to go cold turkey into that mindset you're talking about. I mean, it can take a long time to develop the crystal hardcore discipline that you have and what you're talking about. And it almost might be intimidating to some people. Yeah. Because you are so dialed. You are so disciplined. But it's interesting how, you know, first of all, accountability is everything. I even think about it with my gut. Like, there's been so many times, man, where I've just been so sick, stressed out, all the bad things where your gut's not working well.
Yeah, it's no fun.
And deep down, I do some stupid shit. Like, I eat shit I shouldn't eat, and I make bad decisions.
Yeah.
And when I go back to it and I read Plant Paradox, I'm like, oh,
makes sense.
It's actually my fault.
Yeah.
But when you know it's your fault, you can create a plan. And when you're on a plan, it's so much easier to be positive about the future. I think so many people just aren't on a plan. They don't know what the next day is going to bring, or 2 months or 6 months.
Agreed.
And it's sad thinking about life, not knowing what it's going to be in the future, you know? And I feel if you aren't that one person that rams you in the car, like you mentioned, it can bring you down, versus, hey, this is a bump in the road. You know, this is nothing.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, look what's cool. for you to say what you just said, you have a higher level of consciousness than, let's say, the average person. You're consciously aware, hey, you know, I do splurge. I do eat things that don't serve my body. I've had a tough journey, and sometimes I eat things that aren't good for me. So I'll digress for a second. And I love pizza, right? I'll go out. I love Italian food. I'm on a regimen where it's really purpose over pleasure, because for so many years I put pleasure in front of purpose. And because you're a lean guy, I'm a lean guy. You probably work out a lot. I work out a lot. You can quote unquote get away with eating certain foods, so on and so forth. So I'll still go out and have pasta maybe once a week, or have some, bread and butter I love, once a week, but that's, that's enough. But you have to at some point just say to yourself, am I sick and tired of being sick and tired? There's a famous quote from somebody. It says, I think it's like an ancient philosopher or healer or doctor from, many, many years ago. And it says, I think it was Hippocrates perhaps, before you cure a patient, you must ask them if they're willing to stop what makes them sick. And, you have to look at that. You cannot outrun a bad diet, but similarly, you cannot outrun a bad conscience. And so if you're not congruent consciously, you're forever playing catch up. And when you're always playing catch up, you're always behind. And people wonder why they don't go ahead in life. And it does take time. For many, many years, if you're listening to this and you self-sabotage yourself, I mean, just know I was there for so many years, and a lot of people are like, oh my God, yeah, I do that. But how do you stop? You have to develop a level of conscious congruency. You have to say to yourself, I'm better than this. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And then you have to set up systems. And that's ultimately what actually got me into coaching. I coach people all over the world because I've seen hundreds of patients per week in my practice for so many years. I'm on my now 6th practice that I've had. And I sold my last practice in Los Angeles, and moved to Miami, opened an office. I wasn't sure if I was going to open one, actually. I was doing concierge care. But because there's so many people that need help, and I never wanted to be confined to the 4 walls of the office. So I help people to achieve that level of conscious congruency, because I know how futile it is to go back and forth and back, always trying to outrun a bad diet, always trying to outrun a bad conscious. Right. And it's really, truly not something that makes people happy like they sell it to themselves that it does.
Yeah. Saying that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired is the realest statement ever, because, I mean, I've made so many excuses with myself throughout all of the years. Just when people don't know how it feels to just be so sick, like you can't take a phone call because your anxiety is going through the roof, your cortisol is bumping, you can't be happy because your skin's breaking out, you haven't shit in a week, you're going through all this stuff, like your gut is your brain. And when people have to go through those experiences, it's what forces us to change. Unfortunately, as humans, we don't change until shit hits the fan. We don't change until something goes wrong. It's like our car. We don't check the engine until the engine light goes on. And I've finally got to a point, not out of extreme discipline, but out of just being sick and tired of being sick and tired. I resonate with that so well that I just don't want to feel sick. I want to always be good. I want to always know that, I'm 30 plus now, that someone calls me, I'm going to be good next Saturday. I'm going to be good next Sunday. I can make plans in the future, and I don't know what my stomach's going to feel like. I don't know how my body's going to feel like. And eventually, when you know that who you are and you have this renowned feeling of wanting to feel good, I feel like if that tank is big enough, it'll drown out, man, I want to go just smash some Borti right now, which is some of the best pasta you'll ever have. It's in the Citadel. Or I want to smash a burger. Or I want to kill that dessert. Or do these things that are not feeding life force into your body.
Exactly. And that's such a common thing, right? It's like, food is a social thing, and we use it as a social thing, and we eat our emotions as well. And I mean, there's nothing like a great burger, It's
amazing.
I mean, yeah, a big burger, it's super satiating. But at some point, you have to just look in the mirror and say, and this is, my declaration, like I still eat burgers, but I pick and choose, you know, and I really strive, like once a week on the weekend with the wife or my son, you know, we'll go and we'll have this and that. But it's a really conscious decision where, you know, when you eat certain foods, you feel like shit.
Totally.
And as you said, our brain, you know, our emotions are in our intestines. It's so true, in our immune system. And so how do you trash your body repetitively if you love yourself? And most people, you know, everything is so like romance these days, right? On social media and, you know, hashtag this, hashtag that. But what is really like self-love? You know, and this is something I learned from my wife, actually, who's also a coach. She's kind of on another level. Her thing is perspective, you know. And I remember I used to, you know, eat whatever I wanted to all the time, and kind of with that attitude of like, yeah, you know, like I'm still lean, whatever. And I would notice certain foods would like take my focus, drain my energy, this and that, or affect the digestion. But I would just say, I'll run it off, you know? And one day I was having a donut, and she looks at me and she's like, oh, you couldn't pay me to eat that. How do you even like that? And I joked with her. I'm like, fried dough with sugar on it? Like, what's not to like, you know? I mean,
my first love.
Yeah, literally. Like donuts were, I remember back in the day, right? It was like, oh my God, you know, these are legal like this. Yeah. But it, you know, it took time. Like you mentioned, it took time. But got to a point where it was like, well, wait a minute. I do love myself, you know, and it doesn't mean never have a donut, right? Life is to be enjoyed. But if you're not where you want to be, the first thing you got to do is stop the habits that lock you down and bring you back and hold you where you're at.
So what about for the most standard process when someone goes on to some sort of diet, and diet's a terrible word because diet's temporary versus like a lifestyle change.
Nutrition.
Yeah, that they'll go on a plan and, you know, they'll start making a few recipes. They'll do 1 day, 2 day, and then they just like get so hungry. They get so overwhelmed. Life hits them. They don't know what to do. And then they detract and they go in.
Yeah, it's like, well, we were talking here about your podcast studio, and it's kind of like, you know, you've got a podcast studio and I'm in the process of setting one up. So how stupid of me would it be if I'm setting it up and I run into like a challenge and I'm like, I know my guy who has a studio. I don't want to call him. I don't want to ask him. Like, why wouldn't I just text you, call you, and be like, hey, bud, like, can you help me out? Like, you know, so that's what professionals are for. That's what coaches are for. The internet, I mean, resources. See, nobody wants to be seen starting at the bottom.
Yeah.
But you have to ask questions.
Well, and everyone that ever tried anything first sucks.
Absolutely.
And if so many people also get into one industry and, you know, they're killing it 10 years in, they have stable money, their heart's somewhere else, but they won't make the jump into something new because
I see that all the time.
Fear of starting at the beginning.
I see that all the time. I frequently see that in my office where I have professionals come in and they're very successful and they're having these issues. And as we're adjusting them, we're talking to them about their body and then the alignment and why does this keep happening? Why do you think it keeps happening? And, you know, oh, I'm stressed because of this deadline. Oh, that's interesting, you know, and pretty soon they're going, oh my God, I hate my career choice. And I go, well, why don't you change? You know, Jim Rohn said, you're not a tree, move.
Yeah. You're not a tree.
Yeah. And, you know, people make decisions. So, and this goes back to frequency, is that, and to food and to diet and to decisions, and that people make, when you make a decision from a low energy state, it's not going to be a good decision.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like nothing good ever happens after midnight.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, when do most fights happen, you know, in the street, at a bar, at a club, late at night, alcohol involved, low vibratory state, right? I mean, think about it.
Yeah. And fighting is one of the silliest things you can do.
Literally. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's certain situations where if you can't say no, that's a different thing. But
sure, self-defense
fighting
is
as an adult with responsibilities is the most insane thing you could possibly want to do.
Some people just don't care about their life.
Yeah. Which is another reason why you should never even pick a fight, because you don't know who that person is.
Agreed.
Who doesn't care about their life.
Agreed.
You know? especially in Florida here.
Yeah, a lot of scrappy people in Florida.
Scrappy.
I think self-defense is important, but I agree. It's that lower energy state.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also has to do a lot with surrounding yourself with this community. You know, that's what the Damn Good Day Vibe podcast is all about. You know, it's interesting. You know, one of my best friend, he actually just moved to Fort Lauderdale, Mike Parzak. So he's a chiropractor.
Cool.
And I've gotten to know a lot of chiropractors. And I got to say, chiros I love chiros.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're
man.
like, and this isn't to put down like a severe label, but they're like the doctors of frat guys around the world. Like, they can have a good time, but they know what they're doing, and health and wellness is the foundation of it. And, you know, my chiro friends are interesting because I think that today functional medicine is becoming so popular, right? When you look at like Western versus Eastern, Western's great when you need a surgery, but the pharmaceutical companies supplying us with drugs that are treating issues that are actually making us sick and going back and forth. I love what chiropractors do because, like what you're talking about, it's so much more than just the cracking of the back. That's the stuff that gets the views. That's the stuff that turns the tables. But it's the mental work you're talking about. It's the alignment work. It's the energy. It's the spiritual. It's the full body nutrition. I mean, what you do for people is so much more than just aligning them physically. It's mentally. It's spiritually. And I feel that our generation in this world now, because there's enough studies, things like the plant paradox, it's becoming apparent that things like lentils aren't good for us, you know?
Yeah.
Gundry
indeed.
hits that home.
Oh, Gundry's the homie, man. He's dialed in. You know, you're right. And going back for a second to what you were saying, because I realized we kind of skimmed over that, like about diet and nutrition. You really have to have that deeper reason why. It was like, I met my wife and she's Brazilian, and I go, that'd be cool to learn Portuguese. And I buy Rosetta Stone, and like a year goes by and I know like the same like 2 sentences. And then she's pregnant and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have a Brazilian, you know, half Brazilian child. And I love going to Brazil, and I like really need to learn this language so that I can communicate with my wife's family. So the importance went up, and the word importance means to import something into your mind, right? So if something has a low importance, you're like, you know, versus if it has a higher importance. And when I realized that, I made it a part of my daily routine, and I started setting a time. I'm going to do an hour a day, and I started incorporating it. And so anything you value, you do daily. And if you don't measure something, you can't change it. And so to answer your question about what about when people go on diets and they feel like crap and they lose their energy and they're all over the place, they're not tracking their macros. They're not dialed in basically, and they need help. And so, you know, people reach out to me all the time, and, you know, we help them get dialed in because, you know, I'm 40 and I'm in the best shape of my life. You know, I could like,
you got a Leonidas look to you.
I mean, look, again, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got sick and tired of being like decent, you know, and everyone, you can never look at yourself through other people's eyes. People would always look at me like, oh, you're so lean, you're so strong, you're so that. I'm like, nah. Like, that's what you think because you're overweight. You know, like I have my own standards, you know, and again, it's the vibe attracts the tribe, it's your circle, etc. And ultimately it's your values and your decisions that shape really your destiny, right?
Yeah. That's interesting because I was learning Spanish for a little while, and I love Colombia, I love Medellin. I think, you know, Latinas are white men's kryptonite. And deep down, I just really wanted to learn Spanish.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
I always beat around the bush for a while, but then started taking actual lessons twice a week, and it was insane how much better my Spanish got. You know, I became better at it. It becomes second nature.
100%.
But you just have to put that importance on it, and things that are important get done.
Exactly.
It's like when your girl hits you up and she needs something, all of a sudden that goes to a higher priority sometimes than a lot of things because it's important to you.
I just had a patient today that we did his re-exam. In my office, we do corrective chiropractic care, chiropractic biophysics. We take a pre and a post x-ray. We compare them. We did his re-eval today. Overall, he did really well. There was an area that I was like, I wasn't as happy with the progress there, but overall, he did really well. And just so happens, he comes in, he's consistent, he shows up. He listens, he does the work. And it's the same with any discipline, right?
Yeah.
It's the same with any discipline. You got to show up, you got to do the work, but you have to make sure you're not consistently sabotaging yourself. And if you're sabotaging yourself and consistently choosing pleasure over purpose, pleasure is what people choose when they lack purpose. And it doesn't mean like starve yourself of pleasure and never have pleasure. No, man, like enjoy life, you know?
But there are other things that can give us pleasure besides the things that we grew up doing, like drinking, smoking, eating sugar.
Yeah.
Like there's different things that we can do to get us pleasure. And that's a really tough jump.
It is a tough jump. I remember, you know, many times thinking like, oh, if I don't drink, like I'm not going to feel like dancing, or I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to feel like moving.
I'm not going to have my mojo.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just have to look in the mirror at what a bitch you're being. Like, think about that. Because I did that for years. I was like, I'm not like, you know, I used to go to raves back in the day, like, and you know, my wife loves to dance, and, you know, dancing's not super important to me. You know, I'm focused on a lot of other things. But I will be like, you know, I got to drink. I have a drink.
Yeah.
And then one day I just looked in the mirror and I go, what the fuck? You little bitch.
Yeah.
I go, stop it.
It's like the liquid confidence to go.
Liquid
chat to
courage.
girls,
Yeah.
you know?
It's I mean, we all know that's not real courage. That's not real confidence. You need something, you know, you need something to be strong. Well, what does that tell you?
Yeah. I'm on the liquid courage perspective. I created a game with my friends when I was younger, and we just called it The Game. And most guys have like different variations of the game, but the game went like this. The idea is to get yourself out of your comfort zone to talk to girls. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like door-to-door sales is one of the hardest things to ever do, to knock on a door and try to sell something. It's like so scary because it's a stranger. You don't know what's going on. You're intrusive. It's like,
so I never found that scary, to be honest.
It's worse. Maybe that's so deep down.
I'm different. Yeah, I don't know. I love talking to people.
So for a lot of people have social anxiety to go say hi to a girl or say hi to a boy. So what I would do is with my friends is anytime there was like a cute group of girls that I think we should be talking to, I could say like, Jason, you have to go introduce yourself right now. And if you didn't just drop everything you were doing and walk over there and introduce yourself, you'd have to buy everyone a round of drinks. And then everyone would come in 30 seconds later and like give them support. Yeah. But you do that enough times so you realize that it's just like sales. It's not personal. It's just people meeting people, and it's all good. And over time, that simple exercise extended outside of trying to pick up girls into meeting cool people just anywhere I am. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, and this is an interesting subject. You know how certain people respond to you and you take it personal? That's a big lesson in life, is to learn to not take things personally all the time, because a lot of the times people are just reflecting their own emotions. It's why TV shows are so successful.
All of the time. Not a lot of the time. All of the time.
Yeah.
Think about it. You can only, you see everybody through your lens. So to speak to your point for a second, and that's a cool game. I mean, that's definitely something I would have enjoyed, because it forces you out of your comfort zone.
Right.
But if you ascend to another level, and you see, the problem is people don't have self-worth. So and I'm not knocking your game, because it actually does sound fun, right? I could see I could see myself literally doing that when I was younger, and you get over there, and that totally cool. But now, we're on another level.
Another level.
Right? So if I'm living a life where, let's say I'm going to my job or my business, and I'm like, I'm a successful chiropractor, or, whatever it is, right, that you do. But when I get home, I overeat, I drink too much, I miss my evening workout, or whatever it is. I say I'm going to study my Spanish or my Portuguese, but I really don't, because I'm tired, because I'm stressed, because I had a long day, because I drank too much or ate too much last night. I miss my workout. If I'm consistently missing the steps, my self-worth and value goes down. So now I'm subconsciously telling myself that I'm not actually as reliable as I think I am. So now I may have money, money is from other worth. Other worth is when you provide a value or service, an idea, a product, and you're able to generate money. But if you have no self-worth, you won't hold on to the money. So people that have other worth, they're able to generate money, but they're not able to hold on to it. And some people have a lot of self-worth, but they don't have other worth. They don't have any money, but they have a lot of self-worth. But in your situation, you're in a bar, you're in a club, whatever, and you're like, oh, I don't want to go talk to that woman. Well, I know my value, and I know what I bring to the table. So I don't mind talking to her, but to be honest, I'm also good just chilling.
Right.
And anything you need or you chase evades you. And so if you can energetically walk over to that woman or man or whomever, right? And you don't need them because you have a high level of self-worth, because it's the work and the discipline build the worth. This is what people don't get. Everyone has it all fucking backwards. The work and the discipline build the worth. You have the self-worth, and you meet the person and you're like, hey, what's cracking? What's going on? You just strike a casual conversation because you're not desperate. Oh my God, what if they pick me? What if they don't? Just be a friend.
Yeah.
How's it going? My wife and I talk about this regularly. Like, we joke about it, that like, you know, we'll be in the grocery store, and I mean, my wife is like drop dead gorgeous. She's fucking beautiful, great woman. And she'll be like, you know, I don't know, getting some mangoes or something. We're in the produce. And like some guy will come up and be like, oh, excuse me, miss. Like totally polite, right? And I'm like over there, like I'm usually on my phone. I'm always answering messages, people, you know, clients and stuff. And I'm like, I see out of the corner of my eye. And this guy's like, how do you tell if a mango's right? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, that's a legitimate question. Like, I'm not mad.
Yeah.
I'm not worried my wife's running off with the mango dude, you know?
Mango dude is in Florida. You gotta be careful
Yeah.
with that guy.
I mean, look, it's funny because I remember this happened a couple weeks back, but like the week prior, I was in Whole Foods, and this dude who was like, had to have been like 18, sees me picking up avocados, and he looks at me and he's like, dude, how do you know if they're ripe? And I was like, oh, little bro, come on over, man. Like, let me show you, because I remember there was a time when I would have not known how to pick a ripe avocado. And I was like, this one's good like in 3 days. This one's good like today. You know, this is, what do you want it for? You know, guac, just to eat it, right? And so I was just watching this guy like talk to my wife, and I just laughed. And, you know, and then I think he saw me there, and, you know, and I didn't say anything, you know, he's just asking a question. It's all good. But my point is that we joke about how easy it is to meet people. It's so easy, man, if your energy's in the right place.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, man.
It's great too, and the fact that you didn't do that is another reason why you are so attractive to your wife.
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, anything you chase evades you. I mean, you should chase your wife and what have you, but
Yeah.
but people, when you build the self-worth, my man, it's like everything is there right in front of you. And so for someone watching this, right, like, you know, money's a big thing, right, for people, and but even if money and relationships, right, those are like the things usually. But you attract what you are. So if you're of value in principle, you're rare. You're a luxury. What is a luxury, right? Luxury is scarcity, craftsmanship. If you're overweight, you know, you're a guy with a big beer belly, there's no craftsmanship there. Hey, you provide for your family, you take care of them, right on. God bless you. Right? But you're a single dude. There's no good women. Look at you.
You know, one of the best examples of that, of the self-worth, has to do with cheating, right? I've never been the type to do it, just because the deep down, if you're the type of guy that gets into a relationship and then you cheat, and you can move that a little bit closer actually.
Thank you.
And you end up deciding to cheat on your significant other, your girlfriend. People don't understand that that's not cheating on them. It's cheating on yourself.
100%. Anything we do to others, we actually do to ourselves.
And that's like a hard pill to swallow, because I love this thing by Hormozi. You know how he went viral? He's like, you don't need to make your bed to get rich, right?
Yeah.
You used to go back, you have to do this huge morning routine. But making your bed is not a value of trying to get rich. It's a value of self-worth. Cleaning up your house, having a clean space, it's a self-worth.
Discipline.
You know, it's just, like waking up and feeling and doing certain things where you can look in the mirror and feel good. I mean, I'm a work in progress with it. I've gotten way better over
Me
the
too.
years, you know?
You know, we all are, man. That's the beauty. But I love what you said, because anything we do to others, truly, we really do to ourselves. And, you know, you can have anything you want, but you just have to align yourself with it. And, you know, that doesn't mean sit there and meditate for 3 hours and line to line, you know? Yeah. That's fun sometimes to do.
Law of attraction without action is not.
Gratitude is action, right? It really is.
Gratitude's huge, man.
Oh,
Don't you love people when you hang out with them? They could give two shits if you're on a yacht or on a canoe.
I do.
Those are the boys. Those are
Yeah.
the fam, you know? Those are people that see you as people. Like, if you were to lose all your money today and, like, you just did this brain exercise, like, who would still want you around?
And that's exactly why I fell in love with my wife. I was broke as a joke. I knew there was no question that she was not interested in me for my money because I had none. And I just go, wow, this woman loves me. And we used to have this joke. A couple doc friends of mine is that when we were building our business before social media, stuff like that, we would do like spinal screening. So you go set up at like a store, a flea market or something with your little spine, or you offer this or that, or, talk to people, right?
Yeah.
And it's not, the most fun thing to do. It's actually great to talk to people like we were talking about, get out of your comfort zone. But it's, you're standing at a mall on a Saturday while everyone else is shopping, and you're there like, hey, like I'm the chiropractor. And funny enough, I was actually really good at it. I would go out for the weekend, stand at a store at a mall, sign up like 30 new patients to come in for the next week. I was busy. It's like, okay, wow, this works. But we had this joke that when we started dating, that when the girl would go, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And you'd go, oh, I'm doing this spinal screening. Do you want to come? And I would love to, but I got something else. And we know that like the girl would be a good girl when she goes, yeah, I'll come and help you. And sure enough, when I met my wife, she goes, what are you doing Sunday? I go, well, I'm going to the flea market. We go at 6 a.m. We park one of our cars there, and then we go get breakfast, and then we come back because we have a spot. She goes, yeah, I'll go with you. We're going to hand out free information. She goes, yeah, I speak Spanish. I'll help, I go, all right, cool.
That's a rider.
Ride or die, man.
Yeah.
Ride or die, man. That's it.
That's cool. It's like, it's not a test, but it's a test,
That's
it's
absolutely
a
a fucking test, bro.
Test the values.
It's 100% a test.
1000%.
Yeah. So you want somebody that's going to ride with you, even if the wheels fall off.
Yeah. I love the word nurturing. I think like that's really huge, and just another human, a significant other, someone that's nurturing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, deep down, we're all just babies, and we all just want to.
I mean, look, people always look for somebody that's the same as them, but you really don't want someone that's the same as you. You want someone that has the same values. But if you have two entrepreneurs or two people that are the same, you'll drive each other fucking crazy. And you'll either just, fizzle out and die because you're just clashing too much alike, or you'll have kids that express what you repress. So if you're two high-powered entrepreneurs, you'll end up having a kid that's like a socialite and doesn't want to work.
Yeah.
Or like,
that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's just genetics, man. It's literally the way it works.
Well, I think a lot of that, going back to the foundation of relationships, why it's tough. I mean, I think that's the answer right there. It's you're looking for the wrong things.
Yeah, and people look for the wrong things because they aren't even clear on who they are. And people are so clouded. See, the clouds of emotion block the clarity of the heart. And people are so clouded because they're constantly making decisions that don't align with who they really are. And people don't want to look in the mirror because sometimes it's painful. But pain is how you grow and change. And again, it's just this cycle that people keep repeating, and they're so unhappy with their life. And when you start clearing out the clouds and your heart starts to, your heart has all the answers.
Yeah.
You never need to worry about where to go or what to do next.
There's a woman I always see on Instagram. She's very viral. She's always talking. She's beautiful, and she talks about relationships. And she was saying that so many people have been in these like hurtful relationships where they've been, you know, all sorts of badness going on there, and basically that's what they're comfortable with because that's all they know. And then when they do meet someone good, they almost push it away because it's not what they want. I mean, there's like some deep trauma.
not what they want, but also they don't know how to handle it because they're people are constantly kind of like replaying and working out their emotions, and you have to have somebody that's nurturing that can understand you and accept you with your shit and help you to grow through it.
Yeah, totally. What has been for you, like in your career of developing, I'm just going to go like the Leonidas of Kairos, like what has been one of the toughest barriers for you to overcome? And it could be emotionally, physically, it could be disciplinedly. But what do you think has been tough for you? Because it seems like you're really dialed. Your discipline's on point. You feel like you know who you are. You have this really good foundation and clarity.
It was really quick. It took like 15 years only. There was, speaking about the career, there was a moment that things changed for me. And I remember I had this glass ceiling and I couldn't get above this level of visits, collections, etc. And one day I'm sitting there with this lady in what we call our report of findings, where we go over your x-rays and your findings and make adequate appropriate recommendations, whether that be inside or outside of the office. And I showed this lady and I said, you know, this is what I would do. And she goes, nah, I think I'm going to hold off. And I go, okay. And I looked at her x-rays and she really had a problem. It was severe. And I go, but what are you going to do? And she goes, like, I didn't hear her, like, oh no, I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to, you know, start care. And prior to that, or up until that moment, I was always just like, you know, like hoping and praying because it was my business and I wasn't as clear and connected and purpose driven. I mean, I was trying to be, but certain things hadn't clicked, that internal alignment. And all of a sudden in that moment, you know, I realized that it didn't even matter if she started care with me or not. I'm here to give love and serve out of the abundance of my own heart. She has a real problem. I'm a doctor. I'm diagnosing this issue in her spine. You have this issue. This is causing your problem. You need help. Whether or not she wants to get the care with me is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right? I'm on her journey. If I'm the right fit, great. If I'm not, great. And I go, what are you going to do? And she goes, I'm not going to do anything. I go, no, I heard you, but what are you going to do? I'm looking at her x-rays. You have a big problem. And she goes, huh. And I go, yeah, it doesn't have to be with me. And I let go. And in that moment I let go, from there my practice skyrocketed.
I love that. It's the abundance mindset.
Absolutely. But you have to become an outward expression of the person that you know you're capable of being. You can't just think it and meditate it and 3-hour morning routine it, you know?
Your podcast is going to be lit. You got a lot.
Bless,
you got
brother.
a lot of words to say. I love it.
I got a lot to say, man.
I mean, this is years of discipline. And one thing I found fascinating looking at some of your YouTube videos, I mean, you've had multiple super viral videos.
Yeah, we have some one over 100 million, a couple over 50 million. It's crazy.
It's amazing. And a lot of them are with absolutely gorgeous women. And one thing that I like, a funny comment that I always see, because, you know, I always think about like what guys think when they're seeing it.
Sure, yeah.
Is Dr. Jason so professional, man? How does he do it?
You know, I appreciate that. I thank you for pointing that out. First of all, my practice is my practice. I am a doctor. I am there to serve, not to date my patients. Second of all, my wife is drop dead gorgeous. I'm super happy. So I've never, my needs are taken care of. The third thing is, if I were to be interested in a patient romantically, you have to understand, I would lose the opportunity to be their chiropractor. I would lose that opportunity. Like this opportunity right now that we're sitting here interacting is golden. right? Like there's energy between us. This is life, right? My body's laying here, your body's laying there with no life in it. That's not, that's not us. It's the sparkle in your eye. And every day is a gift, man. Like in being able to, like I would never trade that opportunity to be their chiropractor, to get the light bulb to turn on in their mind that their body can heal. Like that's worth so much more than like, oh wow, that chick's hot. And it's so funny because in LA we had like all the influencers and all these people, and they were all these patients, and they know like I'm super happily married. I'm their chiropractor. I'm not there to hit on them. If they're wearing something crazy, I might turn the other way while I'm adjusting them, sometimes the body parts falling out and this and that. And that goes back to another thing. I remember my dad said to me, for the young men out there, one day I was saying to my dad, see, I said, there's no good women out there. I had to have been like early 20s. And he looks at me and he goes, if you'd stop doing this every time a woman walks by, you'd find a good woman. And I didn't understand it at the time. I mean, what do you mean? How could I not look at a hot woman?
Right.
And what I realized is that it was a self-worth. Right? I was so worried about what was going on outside of me. I had no attention on the inside of me.
And also like what other people would think too. That's so true. I mean, that's the most powerful thing ever. And you might be able to kind of link that to dating in LA or Miami or any of these things, because a lot of people may be doing that for an image that they want to create, but not doing an image of what they actually want to manifest.
And that's exactly it. And most people are they live a life where they're loved by everybody, but they hate themselves.
Yeah, people pleasers.
And they hate themselves, and they have massive guilt and shame because they don't live in alignment with their higher self. And guilt and shame are the number one retractors, some of the lowest energy vibratory states that exist, that completely prevent you from having a healthy, fulfilling relationship and from earning money.
Guilt and shame.
Guilt and shame. Two of the biggest reasons people don't make good money.
It's so interesting. I think it all kind of can come down. I think if you think about like any problem in your life, you can almost think that it all boils down to guilt and shame.
It's massive, brother.
When did you think of that?
Learned, not thought of, learned from, many teachers and many readings, and
Guilt and shame. That'd be a crazy podcast name.
Yeah. That'd be wild, right?
Guilt and shame with Dr. J.
Oh man. Overcoming. Yeah.
Overcoming.
Yeah.
I don't know. The other one might be a little more captivating.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how I used to live in Santa Monica, by the way. I was in LA as well-ish area. I used to have people on the podcast that were like huge influencers, like 2+ million people. I've done that. And, one thing I learned a lot about doing that, and another word is called like clout chasing. Like you assume that someone that has a big following is going to be this great thing to help blow up your podcast. And what I learned really quickly was it couldn't have been farther from the truth. Like when I speaked and met celebrities and started talking to people, you never know who you're going to meet. Now, that's not all celebrities. Some celebrities are amazing people, but some people are just not what you'd expect.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
It's interesting because when you start to think about it like that, I think there was like a study, something I saw online. It was like studies show that people that are obsessed with celebrities are less intelligent than other people. I was like, ain't that the truth? I mean, people are people, and you never can judge a book by its cover. You can't assume someone is going to be on your vibe or frequency. And I think that like if you find someone that has good morals, has good excitement, and is in the same playing field, they're going to be good conversations. They're going to be good people. But you never bat 100%. But I'm happy for you to start the podcast, because the podcast is the ultimate life hack. Because the podcast keeps your brain sharp. We get caught in all these circles where we only talk to like your homie. I talk to Sky all the time. He's always there. I talk to a couple of my best friends. And if I didn't have the podcast, I'd find myself consistently talking to the same people. But the podcast forces you to meet and listen to new people and get educated on completely different topics.
Love
That's why
that.
when we spoke even before this, like, hey, what do you want to talk about? What we can talk about? It's like, I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Let's roll.
You know, I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to figure
Come
this shit
on.
out, you know? And
I
I'm
love
locked
that.
in, like you mentioned. Like, you know, you're like, when we're in this state, like, before this, I was kind of low. Like, I almost, like, needed a coffee. I was just... But now, like that, we're in this. We got the lights on. We're doing this. Dr. J's in the building, like in my house. We're doing a podcast. I mean, it's exhilarating.
Yeah, it is, man. The energy's here for sure.
You know?
I love it.
It's good stuff. And I think that the more we can capture this, the more we can spread it. And I really can't wait to, first of all, see you in practice.
Thanks,
Got to
man.
check out your stuff.
Of course. Come
By the
on
way, have
down.
you ever heard of Nuka?
Yeah.
What do you think of Nuka?
I think Nuka is a great technique for, you know, the people that like it, that either they practice it or they receive it. As with all things, I think there's a lot of techniques in chiropractic, and I think all of them, because I train doctors all over the world to adjust, and I've got an online platform called the chiropracticuniversity.com.
Chiropracticuniversity.com.
Yes, sir. Where I train doctors and I do seminars. I've done them on different continents, etc. And I think a lot of people benefit from all different types of care. But as far as like Nuka goes, for me, you know, I don't really think it moves the needle for my body or for a lot of the types of cases and care that I give.
Yeah, it's
So
a lot of
it's-
x-rays needed too.
The x-rays don't bother me. X-rays are really hyped up in a negative way more so than they should be. There's something called hormesis that you should look at if you're not aware of.
Hormesis.
Yeah, hormesis is basically
Sky, can you pull up hormesis?
it's basically the theory that anything that could be harmful in large doses is actually beneficial in small doses. It's the whole theory behind like a cold plunge or a sauna.
Yeah.
And you know, it goes really deep with radiation and x-rays and you know, I don't want to get into that whole kind of, that's a rabbit hole right now, but it's really not dangerous to take spinal x-rays. Yeah, I mean, again, if Nuka works for you, like rock and roll, man, awesome. I'm happy when people are getting chiropractic care, but since you asked my opinion, it's not for me.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend that does Nuka, and I have another friend that does like more standard.
Yeah. I've found personally, you know, since you brought it up, that chiropractic, real specific scientific chiropractic care is a complete dying art. And it's crazy that I've been in the profession for, you know, just shy of 20 years now. And I look at myself, I was telling my buddy the other day, it's like I'm almost becoming like a chiropractic old timer in the sense of like, you know, those guys that...
Like the last of a dying breed.
Yeah, the last of a dying breed that can actually adjust, you know, set a proper bone. There you go, hormesis.
Hormesis. That'd be a pretty good dog name. This is my homie Hormesis. Comes rolling in. He's a big Belgian Malinois.
But, you know, yeah, chiropractic, it's a dying breed. And most chiros, I hate to say it, but they're just really terrible at adjusting, and they really need to hone that skill. So I practice, you know, traditional chiropractic. I adjust in whatever way suits the patient. But I also practice chiropractic biophysics, which is the science of spinal correction. And it's the only technique in chiropractic that's actually backed by peer-reviewed randomized clinical trials in the upper echelon of medical journals called Q1 journals, things like, you know, the journal Spine or these sort of things. So there's really no other technique that actually is published in any reputable journal through randomized clinical trials. So, you know, I like things that are
scientific based.
Yeah, I like things that are, we're spiritual beings having a human experience in a very mechanical and physical body.
Well said. And one thing I always ask everyone that ever comes on the show, and I'm so curious to think about what you would say, is if you could go back in time to maybe when you were 16,
sure,
and the current you could talk to the 16-year-old you,
oh yeah,
and you could have told him, you
Great
know,
question.
1, 2, or 3 things, something that could have saved you a ton of time, money, heartache, headache.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of people say I would have invested in crypto.
Nah, man.
But what's that something, if you had a moment with the young you?
Do people really say that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, because it's a cop out, you know.
Yeah.
You want to. It's a tough question.
That's a low vibratory answer, man. It's obvious for me. Love yourself. I would pull myself aside and go, Jay, and I would probably slap the shit out of myself because the 40-year-old me could manhandle the 25-year-old me. I mean, I'm, you know, I'm blessed. When you get dialed in, right? You know, health is a blessing, energy is a blessing. And I would say, Jay, you got to love yourself. You got to really, really love yourself. And if you love yourself, you wouldn't do things that detract from your value and your worth. You know, whether it's alcohol, drugs, you know, dating around, that type of thing, you know. And I would drill that into myself. I would be miles, hundreds of thousands of miles ahead of myself today had I had more self-love growing up. And so, you know, really that's really is my mission, is to, you know, teach people how to live a life in alignment. And part of that is how to love yourself. And that's one of the biggest problems we have today in society.
I can't think of a better way to end the podcast with that.
Stay tuned, bro.
Dr. Jason, man, I appreciate you.
Likewise, man.
Can you remind everyone of those two things that you said, your university as well as your clinic?
Sure. So for chiropractors, the chiropracticuniversity.com, I think it's www. And basically it's a program where we're adding new content weekly and teaching docs how to really adjust, how to do real rehab. Because a lot of docs talk a big game, but I don't see, you know, there's a very small percentage of them actually out there doing big things. And my clinic is Rejuve, so that's www.rejuve.vip or @myrejuve on Instagram. But most people just know me by Dr. Jason. You can find me YouTube, Instagram, Dr. Jason, @Dr. Jason. And, you know, most people just send me a DM. We'll get you set up. And, you know, really just, if you're living, the message would be this: if you're living out of alignment, when is now a good time to change?
Dr. Jason, everybody. This is the Damn Good Day Show. I appreciate you, brother.
Hey,
And
it's been
excited for
a
round
damn
2
good day,
in the
man.
future. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate you.
Let's go.